I want to talk about this birth control issue that the Republican Party is doing, which they are alienating so many people, so many women. This is not about religious rights or nothing like that, religious freedom, as the Republican Party is claiming. This is all about keeping the white race as a majority. I mean, nobody in the media would say this, but in the back of their minds, they know what all of this is about. The Republican Party has been totally against abortion for the past 15 years. They have been totally focused on abortion. And now they're coming after birth control because it's just as simple. Just Google this up. White women are not having babies at all. They are not producing. Let me give you some statistics. Back in 1930, for instance, when it was 122 million people in this country, 22 million of those people was minority. 40 years later, 1970, it was 203 million people in the country, and minority population only grew 11 million, went from 22 million to 33 million. And the white population was, of course, 170 million, grew 70 million from 100 million in 1930 to 170 million in 1970. Now let's look at the census figures in 2010. The minority population just exploded, mostly because of immigration. Mostly because of that amnesty immigration bill was passed in 1986. But look at this. The minority figure went from 33 million in 1970 to 113 million in 2010. Now you figure that out. From 33 million to 113 million. That's 80 million more minorities in 40 years. While the white population went from 170 million to only 195 million, only a 25 million increase compared to a 70 million increase from 1930 to 1970. So this is what this is all about. They are scared. They are so afraid that the whites will become a minority in this country. That's why they don't want any white women having no kind of abortions anywhere. Period. And now they're trying to stop white women from taking birth control. So this is what this is all about. This is not about religious rights or religious freedoms or what the church believes in. This is about trying to keep the white race as a majority in this country. Because, you know, I just gave you the statistics. It's just unbelievable that back in 1970, the white race was 170 million people, and white women only had 25 million more kids in that period, which is unbelievable. Why the minority went from 33 million to 113 million, mostly from immigration, but mainly because minorities was having babies at an unbelievable rate, which mostly white women weren't. White women, basically a majority of them became career women, wanted to be career women, didn't want to have any kids at all. You know, you have so many single white women who just don't have kids. And that's why this issue is all about this birth control. This is why they're talking about this birth control issue. It's not because of, like I said, religious right. It's because they are so afraid that the white race is going to become a minority. And by the statistics, they're probably right. I don't know why white women decide not to have children in the past 40 years, from 1970 into 2010, where they only had 25 million. But you look back from 1930 to 1970, as I said, the population increased some 80 million, I think, and whites was responsible for 70 million of that. So white women from 1930 to 1970 had 70 million kids basically because of the baby boomers era. But for the past 40 years, from 1970 to 2010, they only had 25 million, which is just unbelievable. You know, they 85% of the increase from 1930 to 1970, which dropped down to minorities becoming 85% of the increase. So that's what this is all about. The white population is decreasing rapidly, and they also are aging. The white population is aging very rapidly. They say by 2050, minorities will be the majority in this country. I can't really say that. It's going to be close if that rate continues, but the Republicans are doing their best to make sure that white women don't have abortions, and now trying to ban the birth control pill because they are afraid that the white race is going to be the minority, period. And when the white race becomes the minority, Republicans don't have a shot anyway. What I have always said is by 2020, it's going to be impossible for a Republican to win anything when it comes down to winning the White House. It's going to be impossible for them to win the White House because of minority vote, because they can't get minorities to vote for. For the past 40 years, minorities have been voting Democratic. At least 80% of minorities vote Democratic for the past 40 years. And that's going to be the Republicans' Achilles heel. They just can't get minority votes. And it's going to be impossible. I just don't see they can pass all these voting laws, which they're doing. They can pass all these voting laws trying to keep minorities from voting. You know, every time Republicans take over state legislators, they pass these voting laws. Like, for instance, in the 2010 midterms, Republicans took over Michigan, Florida, and Wisconsin, and Ohio. And the first thing they did was pass these voting laws to try to keep minorities from voting. And a few months ago, Virginia finally took over the state legislators, and now they're fit to pass a voting law. This is all designed to keep minorities from voting because they're panicking. They're panicking that minorities are going to keep Democrats in office for years and years to come, which might be true. But how long can they keep minorities from voting with these voting laws? You know, because sooner or later it's just going to be impossible to keep minorities from voting. But they passing all these laws to try to keep minorities from voting. So that's what all this birth control and stuff is about. But nobody in the media will ever say this, because the first thing they would say that they would be called racist, cynical, or something. But this is all about, people got it in the back of their mind, believe me, but they are afraid to say it. People in the media know what this is all about. This is not about religious belief or religious freedom or religious rights. This is all about protecting the white race, to keep the white race from becoming a minority.